Session, we don't have an agenda. However, we're going to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to speak. So tonight's meeting is to allow that to happen, for you to provide suggestions and present your suggestions or comments on the town budget 2014. Available for discussion is the budget as prepared following the work session, and with October 3 rather than October 4. The guidelines I will follow are to assure that we do have the orderly conduct of business in place of an agenda which is not required. Likewise, this process will allow anyone wanting to speak to be heard, and enforcement of these rules, because they are mine, will be the sole responsibility of me as chairman. All decisions that I make will be final without any recourse anywhere else. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Leo Zipper. I am the county, I'm the town chairman. Anyone wishing to speak here is the rules or the course that we're going to follow. Anyone wishing to speak will first fill out the information form, and there are those at your desk or at your table. When you have completed the form, raise your hand for pickup, or else you can deliver them over to Linda. Please limit your request to 2 items. Indicate if you wish to speak in support or against the line item. And when your name is called, come to the podium and state your case. State your name and address and identify the concerns you have. You will be given 3 minutes to share your thoughts with the rest of us. If you represent a group, the time limit is 5 minutes. Timekeeper for this part of the hearing is Supervisor John Savas on the end. And on his advice, telling you to stop, we would ask you to do so. All speakers in favor of a particular item will be heard first. Anyone not in favor of a particular item will speak last. Name calling will not be allowed, and please respect the rights of your neighbor. Answers to your questions will be given by the supervisors, the clerk, or the chairman. For those of you who don't know who your town people are, on the left is Linda Waite, our town clerk treasurer, and Dick Whiteman is next, the town supervisor. Chuck Tice, another supervisor, Dan Whipple, and John Stubbs, also supervisor. Speaking a second time on an issue will not be allowed unless you are were part of the discussion the first time around, and then only after everyone has had an opportunity to speak on the issue. Repetitive comments will not be allowed. So when I tell you your time is up, or that you are in repetition, please honor my request. We don't want to be here all night. This hearing is your only opportunity to discuss an item or allocation of dollars for the 2014 budget. A majority vote of qualified electors will set the levy at the next budget session, which will follow this session later. We thank you for your participation. We thank you for your attendance tonight. Linda, you have?
Well, I have several requests to speak here. I don't know what order you would like to call them in, or are a couple here that they're not sure if they wish to speak. It'll depend on what is said by the others. So,
did you want to call? Okay, you still have time to make up your sheet if you wish to. Heidi, you want to be the first one? And I would ask that you come over here and speak here.
Right. Well, I want to speak based on what happens later in the meeting.
All right. When do you want to wait?
Those are some
No,
great
I'd love
points.
to go right now.
All right,
I'm ready.
Wayne is up next. There's two items, capital outlay, line number 95, reallocation of funds, and then number 2 would be the levy for the general debt, line 146.
Before my timer starts, can I just remind everybody? I'm just reminding everybody before my 3 minutes starts that if you have not signed in, please do so. Thank you.
Time's up.
If you look on the budget, my copier is not been the best, I'm sorry. I will get my copy and I will refer you to the page, how's that?
Page 4. Did you see it on page 4?
Okay, my first item is capital outlay, line 95 on page 4. It is the 1, 2, 3, 4, second category down. Capital outlay, this is expenditures, large expenditures. So in the 4 years that this building has been here, this is the 4th occasion that we have been under a boil water order from the DNR. You may have noticed the posting when you came in the door. I talked to a local well driller. Even he agreed that going deeper is not the answer nor the guarantee to our problem. The answer is most likely an antibacterial or ultraviolet system. I also checked with cost. The cost would be $5,000 at best or $8,500 at worst, depending on what the DNR orders, with annual maintenance of about $260. The budget as it stands right now has on line 95 a capital asset replacement amount of $10,000 for contingency for capital expenditures. Everyone has access to the town hall, and water safety should be a priority item. Likewise, planning for updated election equipment, which every voter uses, should also be a main concern. So I would like to see the capital asset line 95 increased from $10,000 to $12,200, and the capital cable equipment on line 94 reduced from $5,200 to $3,000, with the reasoning being that in the spirit of compromise and also priority for the community as a whole. My second item is the levy for general debt, line 146 on page 6. Under that first category, taxes. The years 2011 and 2012 were not kind to us with overruns on road construction and snow removal. But for 2013, we curtailed our spending. The bottom line is much improved, and we are working toward the goal to have about 15% of the budget in our general fund. That could be accomplished in another year or two. The 2014 budget, a total of $1,027,908, is a number we can work with. I'm not asking to change that. It allows for some contingency and puts us on the right track. But rather than levy $46,362 for general debt, line 146, I believe we could comfortably adjust that down to $21,362 and use cash applied on line 149 of $25,000, which would come from accumulated impact. So again, I'm not changing the bottom line. The budget would stay at $1,027,908, just reallocating some dollars. Thank you very much.
Okay, we have just three more. Tom Gurman would be next. It says Tommy G. Who is Tommy G?
Tonight I was driving here and I missed the entrance and had to go down. I was driving with Dick. I was helping him, but he didn't help me, and I drove right by it. So what I'm suggesting is we put a couple of reflectors at the gate of this facility.
They're in the hallway, Tom, if you'd like to put them.
I'll look it out, put it in tomorrow.
I just pulled them out yesterday.
That's right.
Does that fit under a capital expenditure? Yeah, okay. Only have two more, and that would be Gene Tice. Snow removal perhaps, and maybe it's a...
Okay, in looking at the estimated year-end amount, it seems that we're quite a bit over what we had projected. And just from observing snow plowing this past winter, at least where I live, it seems that they always manage to come out on weekends at overtime probably. And they spent a lot of time going back and forth when it really didn't seem to be necessary. And so I'm just wondering if there's some way that we could monitor a little bit when we actually move the plows out, if it is that necessary, and kind of check and see if maybe it's just coincidental if we seem to be doing a lot more on the weekends. And my other question mark, just again, trying to cut down on a few things, if it would be possible to cut down on some of the street lights that we have, whether we just turn them off or come up with a plan that maybe whoever is located by them might assume some of the cost of operating them. You know, each little bit helps. Thank you.
Okay, the last remaining one is with Arlene. Did you wish to speak on anything?
Leo, could I have my turn, please?
Well, it's either that or we're going to complete the hearing, so. Mr. Member, you got 3 minutes.
Yes.
And then that started once you adjusted the camera.
Started. I want to go on the record as opposing the reduction of the cable committee capital expenses as Linda's proposing. I originally proposed a budget before the work session which included enough equipment to keep us running and move ahead a little bit in technology. And at the work session, $6,000 of that was taken out. Now, we had a cable committee meeting a few weeks ago in which the cable committee looked at a possible reduction again, and they came to the conclusion, I believe it was unanimous, that the budget as proposed here is what they would recommend. Any further reductions are going to make it awfully hard to keep our station running in the way we're familiar with it, and we certainly cannot move ahead at all in technology. We need a new well, we need a new well, but this is not where the money should come from, I believe. The budget I originally proposed did not exceed the amount of the franchise income we get. In fact, it was less than that. It is now about $7,000 less than that income money. So we're not using any funds from any other source other than the cable franchise income. I think that our station is very important to our community, to keep people outside our community as well as inside informed of what's going on. We have a stellar station here that has won awards that I think we should be very proud of. And as a minimum, we should at least keep it running with the best technology we can possibly afford. So I would suggest you not vote for the capital equipment budget reduction that Linda proposes. Thank you.
All right, no one else has signed up, so we'll go to just a question and comment area here. If we have, before you should have the budget worksheet for 2014. Now, in the event you do have a question on any of those, now would be the the time to ask the questions. This is the result of our work session on October 3 and our last town board meeting as well, in that we did some revisions there too. So this will be your only opportunity to ask those questions. Our next meeting following this one will be the special town meeting, at which time we will ask you to establish a compensation for the town elected officials and also adopt the tax levy for 2013. That'll appear on your tax bill to be collected in 2014. So, anyone wishing to comment or ask questions of? Were there enough worksheets that everyone has a copy or not? All right, you came in last. Come on up, and there's some there, John?
I think they might all be gone.
Okay.
I can run a couple more copies quickly if you like. Mr. Chairman, can I run a few more copies quickly?
Yeah, we're going to take a break until 6:30 anyway, because we can't go on without.
Okay.
How many people need copies?
How many copies, how many people need copies? 1, 2, 3, 4?
4? Okay.
4 more. Okay. Okay, yeah, okay. I wanted to solicit from the audience first any question that you might have on the particular line item, and you'll find those numbers on the far left of the sheet. And as well, the dollar amounts are there if you have a comparison from this year to last. And go down, and we'll try to provide the answers as to why that dollar amount is there, or if that dollar amount is missing.
Or we could adjourn the meeting if we don't have the answer.
We can do that too. So this is the process we need to follow, and we're timely in what we're doing. The next meeting is to be called to order at 6:30 or immediately following the public hearing, but we can't do it before 6:30. So we can be in recess until Linda brings back the information. And if you have a copy or if you have a comment, you can ask your questions now. Yes, sir.
How does the town monitor the effectiveness and the hours of the snow plowing crew?
The agreement that we have with the county is for them to not come out and plow until a 2-inch accumulation, or unless the intersections are slippery enough to be called by the sheriff to ask for some kind of application. In absence of all that, it would be to call me as the chair, Linda, if it's in the daytime, or any of the supervisors here to give your road or your area particular attention. What they normally like to do, in addition to the standard 2-inch drop, is to get all the hills and curves and to provide that kind of sanding and plowing before school opens, so that the school buses can get to school in a timely manner. And as well, they are normally out until either the storm is over or they have brought the roads, I guess, down to what they consider to be safe for motorized traffic. Do you have a particular concern, or?
I'm just curious.
Yeah. The monitoring is done, well, as in Chuck's place, they go past his house, and he'll wonder how many times that they do have to go through, and I don't really know why they would do it more than once. But if we have a particular comment or complaint, we can check it out.
Do we get an itemized statement from the county?
We get it on hours, yes.
Okay.
on hours plowed, and anytime we have a specific request, that would be noted on there. So. We did have a policy at one time that if you wanted your driveway plowed, if you had a long one and no one else would do it for you, we'd allow the county to go in there and do it. They in turn would charge us, and then you would pay us for that service. But some while ago, the county was prohibited from doing any private work. So the only time we could bring them in to do your driveway, if there was a large accumulation of snow or whatever, is if it were an emergency, as the ambulance was coming to your home or the fire truck or something like that. So, any other questions? All right.
I just
Dan
had one.
wanted to, what?
Dan. Okay. On, as comment to Chuck's thing in the last meeting, the first responders, we have the $10,000 in there. Yes, that, we could use 1,000 of that for our budget for maintenance on the defibrillators. So that would change line item 177 down 1,000. And we would add, we would just add it to line item 49, page 2.
You wouldn't add it, John. It would,
Just fall in there?
you need the 4,900 for maintenance, but 1,000 of that is attributed toward the defibrillators.
Correct.
When we get down to cash applied, $1,000 of that cash applied would come from those designated funds, and the remainder would come from the balances of the other non-restricted funds.
Okay.
So I thought we had that agreed to at our last board meeting.
Well, we didn't have, we had a first responder meeting after that,
Okay.
and we talked about it. And we thought that because it was, of course, donated for the defibrillators, that we would have $1,000 for the batteries and maintenance on the pads and all the other stuff that we need for the continuing part of that, so.
I thought we did have the resolution indicated it had to be used for that purpose.
Right. It has to be
And
used for the defibrillators,
Nothing else.
because it was donated for the defibrillators from the public.
All right.
It actually stated the purchase and maintenance of that, so that was the question, and the question was answered, that it would be used that way.
All right. Dan?
I'd like Linda to be here before I comment, I guess, so we can maybe hold for a second, because it relates to her cash balance applied.
Okay.
So we'll hold for just a minute. You're right.
I think Tom needed one too.
You can't even see the reflectors out at the end of the road.
It'll probably go way over our budget.
Didn't Drive Association could donate a couple. I have way too many out there.
What do they cost, $1.50?
I got a bunch of them at my house. Okay. Linda, Dan has a question, and he needed to have you here before he...
I wanted to make some comments relative to Linda's desire to apply some cash to our balance to reduce the amount of tax that we would pass on to the townspeople. And I apologize, this might get a little lengthy.
Uh-oh. Hang on.
I think most of you are probably aware that over the last few years with the Doyle administration and the Walker administration, they have strongly constrained us with respect to what we can tax the townspeople on. And I think we've done a very good job of managing to that number. In some cases, it's literally been a 0% increase year over year. On the flip side of that, our expenses go up like yours and mine do at home, and so they're ever increasing. And I think we've done a very judicious job of managing the funds in our budget, and I think Linda's done an outstanding job in helping us understand the issues and opportunities and where we need to watch our dollars. As she did last year, and by basically we stopped almost any and all road construction in an effort to try and return us to the positive side of the balance sheet. Our accountant tells us that we should have some money in reserve for unusual things. Those unusual things might include snow plowing, where we budgeted $60,000, but we spent $90,000. So it helps to have a few extra dollars in the bank for the rainy day. Over the years, I think I've been on the board for 8 years now, we have used cash balance applied and eaten into our reserves to reduce the amount of money that we've taxed you and myself included as citizens. And we've used that recourse every year to keep our tax bill in line. Now, if you took a look at page 6 of the budget sheet, you'd see that in the year budget 2013, our tax per $1,000 of assessed value was 84.7 cents per thousand. And this year, as the budget is stated, it's 88.7 cents. So it's not a huge increase. But we are faced with the continuing problem of needing to wean ourselves off of using cash balance applied to reduce the tax levy to the citizens and to try and build the reserves back where the accountants tell us it should be. So I think Linda does an outstanding job, but I think we should leave the $25,000 in the reserve fund, in the general fund for our use, to build that reserve up and not take another 2 to 3 years to try and achieve that goal. I don't think the impact to anybody is significant. I think it makes more sense to try and build the reserves now. We never know with our state government how they're going to treat us next year. And by no means do I think we are lavish in any of our spending or take advantage of any of the opportunities. I think we're very good at what we do, and with Linda's help, we stay the course. So I would suggest that we do not apply $25,000 and leave that money accrued to our balance in our general fund or rainy day fund, if you look at it from that perspective. So I'm sure I exceeded 3 minutes?
No.
No? Okay. In which case, let me tell you about Tuesday's weather. No, I'm sorry. Okay. That's
Where
it.
did you have your cash applied balance?
She had in her comment that she wanted to apply $25,000 of cash applied to reduce the taxable amount. And I'm just suggesting that we do not do that.
Okay. Anyone else?
I've got a comment on capital outlay, on the cable equipment and the adjustments Linda made and a request she made at that point. As I stated at our last meeting and at the cable committee meeting, the cable channel is running perfectly. There's nothing wrong with it. And I believe that it could continue for another year at just the way it is without adding more equipment. More equipment definitely makes it easier on the director. It makes things a little better. It gives him some backup equipment. But he does have $1,000 built into his operations fund for repairs and emergency equipment. It's not as though he's going to lose this money forever. It's just that we have some other things that are, I would consider, more important. Definitely this safe water is more important than the pig channel in my mind. The channel continues to run, we can't use the water. So I believe Linda is right there that we could take some of that capital equipment money. One thing with the cable operation is that it has an opportunity to go out and look for grants or donations or other ways to raise funds to buy this equipment. That's something the town board can't do with general obligations. So I agree with Linda that the cable budget could be adjusted, and we do need to consider what we're going to do with this well and this water system.
Which is why I think we should leave the $25,000 in the general fund.
Okay.
Amongst others.
Well, you were going to take it out of the
short-term debt, is that what you're going to take it out of?
No, accumulated room tax, not out of the general funds, accumulated room tax, which room tax is designated for debts.
Well, you were out, Linda. John brought forth at their committee meeting, the EMTs, that $1,000 from those restricted funds could be used toward that 4,900 of maintenance equipment for the first responder supplies.
You mean the 10,000 that's sitting in
We
there?
have 10,000 in restricted
In restricted,
funds.
correct.
We could use 1,000 of that for the backup batteries and repair parts for the defibrillators.
All right. Nick, you're next.
Okay, I guess in response to the reduction in the capital outlay for the PEG channel, we had a committee meeting on October 28th that was well-attended, and not only, I think the general consensus, and we did pass a motion to adopt a capital outlay of $5,950 at that meeting. As Laddie pointed out, we do take in approximately $28,000 in that fund, justifiably so. I think maintaining that $5,900 will keep the channel viable and also allow Laddie to do the job that people have expected and people have appreciated. I can say from personal experience, I do not have cable available to my household, but as chairman of that committee, I think that money could be well spent, and the people that attended that meeting certainly voiced their opinion on the amount of time they use that channel, and certainly could be used in that way. It is true, we had a couple of members, guests that attended that meeting, and there is a possibility we can get some grants and funding for it. So in reality, maybe, yes, we can reduce that. It can come off the budget possibly, but we don't have any certainty about the availability of those grants or that additional funding. So I would again urge to keep that money in there.
Mr. Chairman?
Did you have any other?
No, I think as the budget stands, I certainly was in favor of adding extra money to the road construction line item. I think it's something that over the years, over the last couple of years, we probably have not addressed road maintenance as much as we should have. And I think at a cost of approximately $75,000 to $80,000 per mile of resurfacing, and with about 75 miles of road that we maintain in Sevastopol, that we ought to have some type of yearly plan for maintenance and replacement so that we aren't faced with a huge expenditure when it comes time to resurface more than 2 miles, 3 miles, 4 miles. 4 miles could represent $300,000 outlay by the town. So having that line item as it stands right now certainly is a good step forward in providing some type of plan for maintaining those roads.
Okay, are you familiar with the Whistler program?
Yes, I am. I participated in it.
Okay. But I think what I did ask our clerk to come up with was, did we have anything in the rating system that would give us an opportunity to jump aboard to get that accomplished quicker? I'm looking at something less than a 5 or a 4. And what did you find when you went through this?
Actually did go through the Whistler rating, which is the Wisconsin state road rating system. The board goes out for a road inspection every spring, and all of the board members did attend that in May. So the town board tours the roads each spring to determine the need, to develop priorities, and solicit for costs to stay within the budget. There are only 4 sections of paved roads with a rating of 4 or less right now. and 4 equals fair, and would probably benefit from an overlay. And one of the roads is Shower, which we are addressing this year, so. As long as we stay on top of our ratings, and pay attention to what needs maintenance
Right.
when the rating does go down, right?
I have a question for Dick. You said at your committee level you had $5,900?
Right, and on the line item, it's only 552.
5,200. Right. So you're, what's the real number?
Well, our committee would suggest that that number be 5950
And that was an adjustment from the original request.
from the original request of 11,000.
Okay, all right, let's finish up with the rating system here. Linda, you had no others? You had Shower and which other one?
There are 4 roads that would benefit, well, with the number 4 rating, which is fair. Forest Road, 1 mile from South Brower to South Country View, is rated 4.
Okay,
Old OR, approximately 3/4 of a mile.
okay,
It's between HH and Bluff Court. Shower Road, 1/2 mile from Cave Point County Park to the Jacksonport Town Line.
right.
And Valmy Road, which is slightly less than 1/10 of a mile in Valmy.
All right, I also asked her to come up with some kind of year-by-year expenditure that we have allocated, even though we seem to stay within our budget. Maybe you can give us the figures as far as going back, what kind of dollars we have invested in our roads over the years. We haven't really not looked at them. We try to manage our system as best we can with the dollars we have. And once in a while, we do get way out of line, which would happen at Shower Road from the entrance to the Whitefish Dunes going into Cave Point. For us to be in compliance with state rules and regulations in obtaining and receiving dollars under the gas tax situation, we need to have a road that qualifies to be an 18-foot road width for traveling, 2 feet of shoulder on either side. And at times, when we went out to move this forward, we found that we were down to as little as 13 feet. So it was a matter of us either getting at it and getting it accomplished, or else be in violation and having to return some of the monies to the state that we already had received in the past. So what we did, in conjunction with the Wisconsin DNR, this is really unusual because the road leads to a county park, Cave Point, but it travels through a state park, which is Whitefish Dunes, but the road belongs to the town. Someone who was watching it before I came along either goofed up or screwed up, or somehow we got saddled with it, and we needed to rise to the occasion. So I went back to DNR and asked them to participate in the reconstruct, and as long as it ran to the Cave Point County Park, I asked them to also participate. We had applied for local road improvement program monies that fell short of our request. And through the process, do you have the figures that we throw about 130 or 140?
144.
141,000 to finish it, you mean?
No, I'm talking about 2 years ago.
What we put into Shower? Let's see,
What
it's
was our
like
total
200 and,
project? Their total project?
180, 190,000, something like that.
Okay. So we did receive cost share from the other towns, just that we ran over our budget and couldn't do much else. This year around, again, we're looking to complete the project from Cave Point Park to the Jacksonport Town Line, and we again have participation from anticipated. The County of Door has allocated $20,000, and the DNR as well is going to fund half of the total, which was guesstimated at 141. So if we were to get the 70 and the 20, and we throw in 30, we're real close on getting that accomplished this year. The biggest problem there is that, again, if you've been on the road, you know that north of the park going to Jacksonport town, that the road narrows and at times is shorter than 14 feet. So that's really high on the list, and it'll probably be one of those that can be accomplished. Depending on the application, so Shower Road is our top one. We're looking to get another $20,000 this year from DOT as well on a local road improvement grant. And then also the Forest Road, if we bring that up to snuff, depending on what kind of cover, either bituminous overlay or a crack seal coat, chip and seal, or else double, you guys.
We've already done that.
Anyway, we can take a look at that as well. We won't do that until the month of May when we go out for our inspection. And until that time, if you have a road in front of your house that you need for us to look at, please give me a call, or any of us, and as well leave a word with Linda, and we'll make sure that we put it on our list to go and visit. The one in Valmy is in need of some repair. We haven't done, I think we did all the side roads 2 years ago. So this would be the one remaining. So it's a matter of using the money as best we can. And County Old OR was one of the first that we had ventured into as a cold mix. And it was put down, and it served us well, but it's been a while. I don't know what kind of overlay. We had to do a quick fix just to the west of HH on Old OR because it was falling apart. So that's the reason for that one to be fixed previously. So, okay, you talked about increasing, did you have a line item you wanted to increase?
No, not at this, other than leaving the capital outlay for, well, actually, it shows 5,200. Our committee recommends 5,950.
All right.
And leaving the road maintenance, road construction at 150.
Okay, let's go to the audience again here. Do you have any questions or comments? Yes, sir. You. Tell us who you are.
My name is Paul Catriel. I live at 4553 Glidden Drive.
Okay.
How are the cable franchise receipts determined?
That's asked Tom.
It's 5%. It's 5% of TV and
TV only?
TV only.
TV only. So if you look at your bill, you'll see a 5% surcharge.
Okay.
And that was allowed us for the giving charter the right of way to put in the cable.
Okay.
And that, so they give us 5%. Now 5% is given to us in quarterly terms. And remember the fact that all this money that comes in is earmarked for general fund. It has no designated place to go.
Okay. So it really isn't determined by the quality of Sevastopol cable channel.
No.
It's determined by whether someone subscribes to cable or not.
Yeah,
Is that
these,
Right.
right.
So if the quality somehow were to go down above its, outstanding quality now, it's unlikely that those revenues would go down. Is that correct?
Yeah, unless they had a ton of people that decided to no longer have cable.
Okay. So that gets back to the capital budget for,
You're looking at two different
no,
items.
the two different items, but my point
The
is,
cable-
Let them talk.
it was stated that we have these revenues and that we need to maintain the quality. If for some reason we didn't get these additional capital outlays, the quality might be compromised. But it wouldn't affect the revenues anyway, is what I'm getting at.
The quality of the general cable would not be compromised.
No,
The only quality
is
compromised
vastly
because of this equipment cut would be our PEG channel.
Right, exactly. So, but what I'm getting at is that doesn't affect the revenues.
No.
No.
So perhaps we could tolerate for a time some lower quality if that were to occur because of no capital outlays. That might be
Right.
tolerable to the citizens of town of Sevastopol.
Mr. Chairman, can I respond to that, please?
Just 3 minutes isn't up yet.
And then one other question. At the last board meeting, I think it was Supervisor Tice said something about the need for new or some improved voting machines, and there was going to have to be a capital outlay on that.
In 2014, or 2015, I guess it is, but we will need to replace the voting equipment. We've got an anticipated expenditure there of $8,000. At that meeting, it was my intent to try to put $4,000 away this year, $4,000 in 2014, so that we would have that money come 2015.
That's all.
All right. At that meeting, I was there too. I just didn't feel that it was proper to take 4,000 out of the cable channel to go to a voting machine. And we could probably find it somewhere else to accomplish that feat. Tom Gerber?
Tom Berman from Drive. To Dan Wolf's point about the 25,000 should be kept in the reserve fund. I know the state mandates that we keep a certain percentage of our reserve fund based on the total budget in reserve, but there's a percentage number for that, and how does that 25,000 reflect in that percentage that we should keep?
Pretty low.
What's our resolution?
Can I-
What is the resolution?
Our resolution, the board passed a resolution last year upon advice of our auditor that you should maintain approximately 15% of your budget. So our budget is roughly $1 million. 15% of that in the general fund would be $150,000. So
Where do we stand with or without the 25,000?
if you look at the last page of the budget sheet, I have some anticipated year-end and 2014 year-end numbers. We're working our way back up there. It's not going to happen overnight. If you look on page 7, funds information, remember those are estimated numbers. We have an anticipated 12/31 year-end this year and an anticipated 12/31 year-end 2014. That's the best I can do for now, but you'll see that our general funds, hopefully at the end of next year, will be approximately $105,000. So that's a far cry from where we ended up
Okay.
last year, 2012.
All right, any other question, comment? Arlene?
Arlene Local, 4774 Brook Road. Just one question. When we renegotiated the cable money, I thought a part of that money was going to go for the newsletter, and I don't see anything budgeted on here. Did that change?
The newsletter?
Right.
In our budget meeting, we voted not to do a newsletter this year, correct?
No, we reversed it.
Yeah, I thought.
The thing is, the cable budget was never presented back to the town board. That meeting was held after the town board meeting, so the town board has not gotten that proposal yet.
I think that in that conversation that we had, we originally started off with, because the budget was so tight, we would pass on doing a newsletter, and then at the conclusion of the meeting, we went back and said we would do one newsletter instead of two, but I don't know if the money slipped through the cracks or not, but it's roughly right, $2,500 for each edition of the newsletter that we do with printing and postage and prep, et cetera. So the intentions were, I think, to do one.
Okay.
We probably even have it in our minutes, but I don't know where the money went.
Where would that fall otherwise in a line item? Do we have it?
It should be in there.
We actually had it in the line.
It's on page 3, line 80.
Line 80,
Okay. It
yeah,
didn't appear.
Newsletter.
nothing in there.
Estimated
Zero.
zero.
I thought we had allocated our thought about 2,000 anyway, didn't we?
It's a good catch, Arlene.
Well, I was instructed, no formal changes were made at the last board meeting, though, and I was instructed to notice it as it laid, so that's
right.
what we did.
You're correct, it just,
All right, anyone else have any comment? Otherwise, we're going to Lanny. Oh,
All right. Lanny Chapman, Wooden Drive. To answer Paul, if you have a computer, perhaps you know how it's impossible to use electronic equipment without change or upgrade for a very long time. The newest computer I have to do editing for this video tonight is 4 years old. It's pretty creaky. If it breaks down and there's no funds to fix it, we are essentially off the air. Most of the equipment in that cable room is obsolete. It was either donated to us, but in many cases by me, out of my basement. Some of it is getting to the point where it is no longer working, it's going to have to be replaced. You can't stay the same, and you can't beat the lack of investment needs to move forward to stay the same. You see what I'm saying? I'm glad to answer any questions you have. Well, I appreciate your point. I just happen to think that drinking water is more essential to the town than voting machines, for that matter. It's not either or. Than payment. It's not one or the other. Well, I think we were going to have a rainy day fund, so if in fact you did have a major breakdown and could no longer go on the air, I realize what an emergency that would cause for the residents of Sevastopol, but maybe we could dip into that rainy day fund to take care of this. That's just my thought.
We're going to have to dip into that fund just to replace stuff that's totally broken down now or is about to be. As it is, that's budgeted for the expectation. We can't move ahead without this minimal budget.
all right. Come.
If I may just add one thing, we tried in the past to determine how many people who have cable watch the tech channel. And the numbers that we ran a couple of years ago were frankly quite dismal. Out of the number of meetings that were on Bay Shore Drive, for example, some of the committees and associations out there, we had 30, 40 people in the group, not one person who had cable was watching our show. We do get responses and phone calls on occasion from people who say they like this or like that, but it certainly would be nice to get hands on how many people are actually using or watching the cable channel. So maybe we could send out some kind of a flyer in the tax bill. We can generate a postcard. That would be a little bit expensive, but we do need to get feedback to find out what the watching, listening audience really insists on.
Maybe in a newsletter. In a newsletter to get back in.
Yeah, we didn't get, yeah.
All right. Further comments, questions?
I have one comment.
Okay.
Back to funds applied again. The room tax is designated for debt, and it should be used for that purpose.
All right. No further comments. We'll close that portion of the public hearing and head right into our special town meeting. For that, we do have an agenda. So I will call to order the special town meeting for Monday, November 18th at 7 o'clock. And I known you were coming, I would have waited. All right, let's call it to order, and I'll ask that you rise and join with me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, we're going to follow our usual procedure and do the introduction so we get to know who our neighbors are. Linda, you can start over there.
Linda Waite, Clerk Treasurer for the town of Sevastopol, residing at 5075 Bluff Court.
Nick Weidman, Board Supervisor, 4108 South Country View Road.
Chuck Tice, Supervisor, 4771 Bay Shore Drive.
Leo Zipper, the town chair at 3850 Bay Shore.
Dan Wolfel, residing with Arlene Wolfel at 4774 Bark Road.
Oh,
Hans Davis,
Yes.
3811 Whitefish Bay Road.
John Hurley. I'm at 4553 Lori Lane, and I'm here to propose a construction of
all right. Tom?
Tom Garman, Glidden Drive.
Bruce?
No, Glidden Drive.
Joe Wilson, Rip Road. Paul Casriel, Glidden Drive.
Dick Johnson, Cape Point Drive.
Armando O'Donnell, Victim Drive.
Tom Holland, Whitefish Bay Road. Dennis Markworth, Glidden Drive.
Kathy Shumway, Glidden Drive.
Brent Shumway, Glidden Drive.
Bruce Richardson, South Cape Point Drive.
Bert Dean, Whitefish Bay Trails.
Dan Johnson, South Cape Point Drive.
Greg Anderson, Bark Road.
Mary Anderson, Bark Road. Jean Tice, Bay Shore Drive. Elaine Wolfel, Bark Road. Lori Herberway, County TA Cover.
Albermont, County Road TA.
Okay, behind the video is
Bobby Chapman, Glidden Drive.
Next item on business would be to approve the minutes of special meeting held November 19th, 2000.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay.
Second.
there any questions or comments of the published minutes going back to November 19, 2012? You'll notice that the vice chairman at that time ran the meeting. His name was Tom Gurley. Excellent job, Tom. Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye. Everybody gets the vote.
Who was
on
the
this.
second?
Chuck?
Yeah, well,
Chuck? Chuck, second, I think Chuck. I did.
Okay, thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And it's carried. The resolution that was part of the agenda as well, number one, is to establish the compensation. This needs to be accomplished prior to the earliest date for taking out papers for nomination, and that has to be accomplished December 1st, and it can only be done by the town electors that are to set the compensation. To bring it forward, I'll need a motion, and by the way, all of you people can be making motions and seconds, whatever. There's no reason to wait for us to do it up here. So I need a motion to bring forward Resolution 01-2013 for the town. Don't all speak at once.
So moved.
Any of us want to get out of here quickly. I need a second.
To establish what?
Second.
Okay.
We-
Okay, we're going to go down, and as long as we have it on the floor, we can insert the dollar amounts as well. Linda, you want to tell us what our schedule allows at this point?
The current compensation for supervisors, the annual salary is $4,700 per year. Did you want me to elaborate on that at all, or?
No, that's all right. The only one before us tonight are the two positions that are up for supervisor. The chairman and the other two supervisors, I have one more year to go on their term, and that compensation cannot be changed. That will come back for change next year if there is any. So $4,700 is where we are. Is this the intention of the town electors to stay there or to amend it, or?
I could speak to that, if I may.
Go ahead.
I would propose that we do maintain a current salary of $4,700 for each of the supervisors. It is right on target with a survey that we did a few years ago, and also with a survey that was done by Wisconsin Towns Association. It is also in line with our neighboring towns, the town of Egg Harbor. Their chairman, their supervisors receive $3,700. However, they do get a committee per diem and mileage for each meeting that they attend.
Okay, are there any other comments?
Yes, may I comment?
Go ahead.
This is an opportunity to save some money in the budget by reducing supervisor's salary. Remember, there's two this coming election, there'll be two more the next year. So you could save on four individual salaries, and you could save some money on this by reducing it.
Did you have a particular item you wanted to introduce or not?
Well, I would, as a suggestion, reducing it to $4,000.
All right, this particular part of it, we can make motions, so you want to do that as a motion?
Are we allowed to make a motion, or does it have to come from the floor?
We can do it.
We can do it?
Yeah.
I would move that we set the annual salary for town board supervisors at $4,000.
Okay, and I need a second to that motion.
Second.
Second by, I'm sorry, Paul?
All right, further discussion? to set the annual salary for the next term, which would be 2 years, beginning April 15 of 2014. So speaking, anyone speaking in favor of the motion? Okay, contrary?
Yes,
Tom?
we did a survey about 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and the survey compared towns of similar sizes throughout the state of Wisconsin. This was done by the Wisconsin Towns Association. Turns out that our town size category, the average salary was $4,700 throughout the state. That was the average. It turns out that, as Linda mentioned earlier, that survey was done in 2004. So here we were 5, 6 years after the survey was taken, and we were still under the average salary for a supervisor for our size municipality. So it's ridiculous to sit here and try and reduce the amount of money that you people make. You work hard enough, besides coming here and sitting at a meeting, there are committees going on. It's a job that takes a lot of time, and we should be well compensated for it. If anything, I would consider proposing a 10% increase for the coming years.
All right, the motion before us is reduce it to 4,000. Anyone speaking either in favor or against? Gene Tice.
I would be concerned that if you reduce the salary, that you would have fewer candidates running for the position in the future. When the positions do open up, it's not as if we have to have a primary to fill the positions now. And the amount of time dedicated to it, I don't think most people realize.
All right.
Good. Just to remind you, I feel there's a public service component to being on town board, and it's difficult to put a dollar value on that.
Okay, any other comments? Yes.
I've been on the board for 6 years now. It took 6 years to get the supervisor salaries to all equal, where everybody got the same. And I would hate to see that get messed up at this point now by starting to reduce them for 2 people this coming year and 2 to 3 people the following year. Doesn't make a lot of sense there either.
All right, any other comments? All right, because this is up to you to either approve or disapprove. The motion before you now, with the second, is that the annual salary for the supervisors next elected and to take office April 15, 2014, be at $4,000. So I guess I need a number, so we'll have to raise our hand for those that wish that reduction to 4,000. And we have one. Now you made the motion, you got to vote for it.
Well, I certainly have. But it's up to the electorate to...
Okay, so those voting nay would raise their hand, please. Okay. Linda, you need to take the call.
Okay, could I just remind everyone that in order to vote as a, why don't we put our hands down for now? In order to vote as a town elector, you must be a U.S. citizen. This must be your primary residence for tax purposes, the town of Sevastopol. You're at least 18 years of age, and you're not serving a felony conviction for anything. So I'm pretty certain that everyone in here, except Lori and Al, are town of Sevastopol residents. Mr. Hurley, I believe you're here for the town board meeting that's going to come afterwards, and you reside in Sturgeon Bay, correct?
Yes.
Okay, just want to clarify. Everyone else is a town elector, correct? Registered,
All right,
could
did
be
you
a
all,
registered
did
voter.
you all sign in? We actually need to have a signature on it.
Okay.
All right,
So,
do you have your
I'm sorry.
calendar?
No, I don't.
All right, vote again.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22.
Okay, there are 22 in the negative, and there are no one abstaining, and we do have people that are not our resident.
Correct. They did not vote.
Okay, then let's resurrect it one more time. It's still before us. Is there another annual salary that you would like to insert? $4,700, go ahead.
I'll motion that we keep the salary the same at $4,700.
$4,700? Okay, we have a second where?
Jean?
Jean, okay. Questions or comments? We would not be opposed to having it raised, no. Okay, $4,700 would be the next recommendation and motion. All right, all in favor of 4,700, raise your hand, so we can
Okay, I'll do a count again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23.
Were you counting, Lanny?
I think I did not count myself last time.
Did you count Lanny, even though he's hiding?
Are you taking a neighbor?
Say what?
Are you taking a neighbor?
Oh, okay. Those that are
Opposed?
opposed, you can raise your hand now.
Okay, opposed?
There's only one.
I lost my support.
Yeah.
Politics.
It is politics.
Okay, resolution number 2, 2013, the town would be to adopt the tax levy for 2013, and as recommended, where was that heading? 1 million what?
The tax levy would be the total
Total
general
budget
levy,
is 1
debt levy.
million. All right, why don't you give us,
Okay.
why don't you,
The resolution, which
Give us
I
the
believe is
numbers and
included
then
in your
we'll-
packet. Okay, the resolution is to adopt the tax levy. So I guess first we need to establish total expenditures. If you go with the budget as printed, total expenditures are $1,027,908. That is as on the budget worksheet before you.
What's your procedure to address
The changes.
well, we can go back to, because we're going to recommend this to the town board.
that?
We can insert the dollar amounts, but if they want to exceed the dollar amounts now, we can put those dollar amounts in it. What would be the difference on the reductions in?
Difference in the mill rate, or?
No, you're talking about taking,
If, that would not affect the
you were
budget.
going to increase line 95 to 12,250,
Oh, 5950.
and then you were going to hold it down, and then you were, I'm talking about Linda, and then you were going to take the 5,200 down to 3,000, correct?
Well, yeah.
And then we did have indication of raising and stealing from the impact.
Perhaps the first question would be, are we going to stick with $1,027,908 as total expenditures?
And then
That would be the
we
first
just want
question.
to readjust it later?
Well, the distribution is what would change.
And then the distribution will change, but we need to decide on our total expenditures right now, which that is a board decision. The electors approve the levy, the board approves the budget.
Okay.
So we need a motion from the floor.
So well, let's get her up there first. 1,000,002,
Okay, so let's put in
27?
1,027, comma, 908 for expenditures.
Should we put it on the warrant in the front?
I was going to do that.
Well, that's our first.
Yeah, we'll get down to
I
the,
think the only thing that would change on that number, Linda, would be the fact that the newsletter wasn't in the,
right.
in the numbers, so that would add $2,000.
Newsletter is 0. Equipment is, there's nothing in there for election equipment, there's nothing in there for the newsletter, there's nothing in there for the well, unless we can lump all that under our $10,000 contingency fund.
As far as the water issue goes, we don't have any firm figures to work with as far as well or water treatment or anything like that. We don't have any quotes, direct quotes or firm figures to work from.
no, we haven't established what's going to be accomplished.
And we haven't established what we're actually going to be taking.
We're looking at a high of $10,000.
So that might represent one or the other.
At the same time, I think we can allocate the dollars for if there's going to be a reduction in the cable equipment or an increase. And whether or not we're going to take more money from the road tax. So let's just get the levy dollars and we'll work on that later.
Okay.
So, the property tax levy of
1,027,908. Line 154, yeah.
How you doing so far?
Oh, so are we keeping it at 1,027,908?
We'll do that.
Okay, so I have that number written down. Now, what about our property tax levy? We need to decide, we know that our maximum levy per the State Department of Revenue is $587,824. So we need to decide what is going to be the number for general obligation debt. If it's staying at $46,362, so be it. That would only change if we're making an adjustment to cash balance applied. Right now, we have cash balance applied, 0. So if that's going to remain at 0, our tax levy will be $634,186. That is the total of lines 145 and 146.
Okay, so what's your wish?
Well, Tom, you're at.
Well, I think you know what my wish is, but
You know, my vote is,
I'm not the board.
that we can ask the people here tonight to give us
Yes.
Okay,
give us their feedback on it.
well, let's
The electors have to.
make sure we have the numbers right.
Right.
Has to come from.
Are we any kind of a penalty if we exceed that amount or not?
Exceed,
No, because we're not exceeding
No, okay, all right.
our limit.
you can exceed your levy limit by general obligation debt. So we have incurred our debt since 2005. Therefore, in addition to the $587,000, we could levy extra to cover our debt payment. Our debt payments for 2014, principal and interest, will be $105,000. We'll have 6 more years to go after next year, so.
All right, does anybody understand what we're trying to do here?
The number's going to stay the same.
The number will stay the same
Yeah,
if
the
the
numbers
budget
will-
numbers.
okay, let's-
yeah.
587 on page 6, if you've got the budget sheets in front of you, top item. 587,824 stays the same. The difference is if we apply money or we keep money in the general, we either apply some of the money or we don't apply some of the money. The difference is the rainy day fund either goes up faster or it goes up slower. It's basically kind of what it comes down to. Either it goes to 105,000 as Linda suggested, or we maybe increase that over next year by not applying some of the cash, and maybe it ends up at the end of the year at 130, closer to the 150 targeted range that the CPAs suggest, and that we as the board took a resolution on.
Your mill rate will depend on what you decide on a levy. So
Correct.
if you decide on $634,000 as your levy, your tax rate is going to be about 89 cents. If you want to use some cash applied, your tax rate will probably be about 87 cents. So 2 cents difference,
So what's your 2
not a
cents?
big deal.
We need a vote from the electric.
So how many more dollars do you want to pay for taxes?
Correct.
So if I paid $1,000 last year, what am I going to pay this year?
2 cents more,
2 cents.
2 cents?
Not a
a little
thousand.
bit more.
For $1,000?
Instead of paying 80, well, last year, Tom, you paid, if you look at 3 years on page 6,
5 cents.
in 2012, you paid 0.839 cents per thousand of assessed value.
You don't make sense.
On page 6, just down at the bottom, it says town municipal levy per 1,000. It went in 2012 from 83.9 to 84.7. If we go with the suggested budget as you see, it goes to 88.7. So that's roughly right, a little, 3 cents, a couple cents over year. If not, then what will happen is, if we apply some of that cash, as Linda suggested, that mill rate, instead of being 88.7, might go down to 87 cents, a couple pennies per thousand of assessed value.
Actually, I just calculated it out on the worksheet.
Okay.
Will it help if I spell it out on here?
Sure.
I think we all understand that our expenditures, the $1,027,000,
If you stand on the other side, and I
what was it?
$1,027,000.
924.
908.
908.
908, sorry.
Okay, so this is your expenditures. So between your revenues, such as liquor license, room tax, whatever, between your revenues, your general levy, which is going to appear on your tax bill, general, or debt levy, that's on top of the general levy, plus cash applied, our revenues have to equal our expenditures. We don't get to budget for a slush fund, unfortunately. That's why contingency dollars are important. So, if our general and debt levy is, per the worksheet, $634,000,
186.
186. And you can see that on page 6, about line 159. Your mill rate per 1,000 of your assessment, your assessed valuation, that comes to
0.087.
7,494. So,
0.8.
89 cents, okay? If you decide to use some cash applied, that of course is going to decrease your levy.
Why is it 89?
I'm sorry,
Why is it 89? It's 88.7.
88.7. I just said 89 cents to round it off.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Okay?
That's right, I couldn't see what you wrote.
If you decided to use some cash funds applied, say you use 25,000 of cash funds applied, now, instead of levying 634, you're levying 609,186. And your mill rate will be 0.852509. Accordingly, say you don't want to use 25,000 of cash applied, you only want to use 15,000 of cash applied, or 10,000. This number is going to go up, and you're going to be somewhere in between these two. So that roughly explains the tax levy.
So net, if you have a $500,000 home, at 887, it's going to cost you $20 more than last year.
That's just for the towns.
Yeah, just the town, the state,
The
right?
school, technical school.
I believe the last page of the handout does reflect the various mill rates that we can expect for our tax bill, because Sevastopol school is up, the county is up, the state is up, NWPC is up. The only one that went down is the Sturgeon Bay School District. So I'll give you that live on Bay Shore Drive.
Is that the Sturgeon Bay?
Mr. Chairman? Mr. Chairman, Paul has a question.
All right, Paul.
My question is, with this mill rate of .887494, in other words, what is recommended, that would then give us the sort of rainy day funds of 105,000?
It would increase it from 105, which is what we anticipate, to 135. 130. It would bump it up.
Oh, okay, with this recommended.
Yes.
In savings for the rainy day fund, for a funding.
It'd still be a couple of percentage points off of 15, but
But close.
We'd still be, right. The only difference here is that we close the gap, we build a little bit more in, and the negative side is that you don't know where Walker and everyone's going. I think you can tell us if we're wrong, but I think we've been judicious with the use of your money. And so we're just trying to protect ourselves in the event, if you have a bad winter. When I got on this board, I think the first year we put in $45,000 for snow plowing. Last year we spent 90 or 95. We don't have control over all those things, and when it comes time to pay, you got to reach in somewhere. And to me, it's better to have it in the checkbook than to come back and say, hey, we goofed. We need to kind of like special assessment like your condo. So I think it makes sense, but that's my opinion.
But that mill rate does increase it to 135.
Yeah, brings it up by the amount of money that we would not apply towards the reductions.
All right, before us now would be the resolution to adopt the tax levy for 2013. So the choice is total levy. I'll entertain a motion to set the levy. Who wants to be the, Nick, you got the numbers?
I move that we establish the tax levy in the town of Sevastopol at $634,186.
Okay. And
Okay,
that's
I'm
with
sorry, hold on.
no cash applies.
I'm sorry, what was it, Dick? I don't have my sheets.
All right, so we're not applying any cash.
Cash balance, no. Well, my motion would be $634,000. Your sheet,
I lost my sheet.
right here.
Yep, okay. 634,186, okay.
Okay, do we have a second to that? Tom German? The motions have to be recorded, who made them and who seconded. You have those?
I do. Motion by Weidman and second by German. to
Okay, your
establish-
last opportunity to speak. You agree or disagree? And then we'll go to a vote. Okay, the vote is then to approve the levy. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye, nay.
You said no?
As
You're going to be all by yourself.
As an elector.
I'm sorry, I can be by myself.
There's advantages to being,
Oh, do we have to have a roll call to see where you're from?
I think I'm in the minority.
Okay, we'll call it to be the, how many did we have here before? 20?
There was, what, 23, 24?
Okay, so the final vote is 23 to approve and one lone person to disapprove. So the motion is carried, and we thank you. As quickly as we went through the first half, we came back with a lot of second half stuff.
Well, I, for one, would thank you for your support and hope to continue to do the good work.
And it's nice to see our electors turn out for these meetings, take an interest in what
We can only
the town
remind you
government
that the
does.
year that we decided to build this building, I think there were, Laddie, you had the number?
I think
Seven?
it was nine people.
We had 9 people that authorized the construction here in the boroughs.
Yeah, it was 9 because everybody's one was worth $100,000.
You did well. All right, where's the rest of my agenda?
Did we have, was there a motion to adjourn?
Next on the agenda would be a motion to adjourn.
second?
Okay,
No,
I'm
we'll give-
sorry.
we'll give
Motion
Bruce a
by
second.
German and second by Bruce?
Hi, Bruce. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, we're going to be in recess.